But I'm going to hand over now to Sonia, if you're happy. So Sonia has very kindly offered to talk about her school and some stuff that's going on there in terms of biodiversity. I've got your photos, Sonia. Are you there?
Yeah, that's fine. So, I mean, you have to forgive it because it's the polytunnel that is very much work in progress. We're part of the Grow Your Own Potato scheme, which we've got going on the left-hand side there. We've got 4 beds, which have kind of been given over to one to the kitchen and then a bed for each class. At the moment, the 2 beds at the back, I've sort of like acquired some tomato and pepper plants and aubergines and beans and courgettes. So we are in the process of growing those on the back 2 beds. The front bed is being left empty at the moment because we've got Arts Week next week, and we're having a group of people coming in from Realising Futures who are going to come and help us plant up that bed. So they're going to take some children out throughout the day on Tuesday and help us do a little spot of gardening. This polytunnel was actually given to us by one of the parents who was doing some gardening at a local house, and the new resident no longer wanted it. So we leapt at the chance and spent a few days at weekends clearing the ground and putting it up, which was interesting and challenging, but we got there. So yeah, so we are growing. We'd like to grow more. I need to get more greening done in the curriculum, but yeah, we are getting there. So yeah, you can move on to the next one. Thank you. This is our willow tunnel. It needs cutting, I will admit. I have been cutting and sourcing willow off there since I've been at the school, which is about 18 years now, and we use it for a variety of den building projects. We've had several attempts, but sadly not successful at building willow arches and tunnels, but we are going to try again because we don't want to give up. Behind this, where I'm standing, is actually a very sheltered area because of neighbouring trees that are on a footpath. So it's basically nothing grows there. So it's at the moment it's currently full of like an outdoor theatre where the children have used old furniture rather than put it in the skip. We've upcycled it and we're now using the chairs to have for audiences. So they create their own outdoor theatre in that little section, which is really rather lovely. If you could go on to the next slide, please. I can't believe I'm saying that. So this is our, one of the teachers had a large willow in her garden which blew over, so her husband, who liked chainsawing, very kindly cut all of the willow stump up. So we now have this lovely forest school area where the children come and sit and play, and it's one of our play areas. We're part of Opal, which is the outdoor play and learning scheme. We've just started that. So we're kind of adding to our play equipment without buying anything in as part of the Our School, Our World. We're trying to reduce how much we buy in. So a lot of the equipment has been there a long time, and we're still adding to that as we go along. So that's part of our playing field, which is on the right-hand side. And literally just the other side of that climbing wall, there is actually a footpath, which is where all the large mature trees kind of overhang. But I stand out there with the Merlin app and just listen to all the birds that are singing. So it's rather lovely during the day. Okay, yeah, moving on, please. We've got some wonderful parents at the school who are very keen on conservation. So we have got, I believe, 5 or 6 bird boxes up around the school grounds. Sadly, they're not in use at the moment, but I've purchased one of those little cameras so I can view inside to see if they've even been viewed. We have those, so that's one. That's the other side of our playing field. So we have got, yeah, as I said, we've got 5 there. We've got another box actually on the kitchen which has got a camera, but unfortunately we can't link it up because of our Wi-Fi issue. So if anyone has any suggestions as to how we can sort out our Wi-Fi issues, that would be great. If you could go on to the next one, please.
Apologies, Sonia. I was only able to upload those ones, but Sonia sent through a host of wonderful pictures. I don't know if you want to mention some of the other projects that they captured. Sonia, apologies, I wasn't able to upload them all in time.
I'm impressed with all that, though. That looks rather good too. we had Swift boxes installed about 3 years ago, and I'm pleased to say that we now have one being used. So that's really great to watch the swifts coming in and hear them calling. What else did we have? We've got, we do forest schools, so we've got areas that we've kind of cleared a bit so we can let the children access it more. But you know, that's where they go and do their den building and just playing, and it's just really lovely to see them out there. And we've also, when I first started at the school, I had just finished an evening class in conservation, so they were very keen to utilise me to create a conservation area. So behind our playing field, we have sadly a very, well, I say sadly, not sadly for the wildlife that's using it, but we have a conservation area that the children can't access at the moment because the plants are so tall, we would lose children in there. So it has to be a supervised visit. We do have a pond that's a raised pond, and I'm very happy to say that we have discovered great crested newts living there. So that's always great when the children uncover one of those. Yeah, I mean, it's lovely. It's work in progress. You just never stop, do you really? You just want to just keep improving. So we need to work on some more bug hotels, I think. And obviously, you know, any advice on wormeries or just creating more areas of biodiversity so we can observe it and use them in the curriculum is what we'd sort of like be looking to do next. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Sonia. So yeah, Sonia's part of our Schools Our World programme, and yeah, we're very happy to have her on board. Thank you very much, Sonia. So I'm going to hand over now to Louisa. So Louisa, if you want to just tell me when to move on in the slides. So yeah, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Lovely. Thank you so much for that, Sonia. It's really nice to get a snapshot of all the projects that are happening at LSOM. I'm very excited about coming to visit soon. So yes, as an administrator on the Our Schools Our World programme, I've been in the privileged position of being able to start visiting those primary schools who have signed up with us. So I just wanted to share sort of a snapshot, a bit of an insight of some of the biodiversity projects that I've seen underway that have definitely inspired me and really show the ingenuity, the resourcefulness and the creativity that's happening in our schools. Next slide, please. Thanks, Rebecca. So I thought I'd start with composting. So composting is quite a popular option. I've seen that in a number of schools now. It's quite a nice, neat and compact way to introduce a biodiversity element at schools. It's also can be a solution to food waste, although I have been told that often in primary settings, the amount of fruit that sometimes needs to be thrown out can't all go in the compost. But certainly lots of it can, and the children can be involved in that and responsible for that. And it's just an experiment on their doorstep, really, highlighting what's biodegradable, organic processes, soil health, like I say, can become part of a student responsibility as well. And also I've seen a wormery in action, or 2 wormeries in action in one of our schools, which I hear that the children are very, very interested in and engaged with. And again, just a brilliant visual way for children to understand a bit more about how soil works, how organic processes work, and interact and engage with it. So that was brilliant to see. Next slide, please. So as Sonia's highlighted, I've seen some brilliant growing projects in schools. And again, I think this is a really nice visual and very productive activity to do around biodiversity with children. There's all sorts of lessons that can be built into this as well about where their food comes from, growing it from seed to plate. Again, soil health, how to look after those plants. It can tap into lessons about weather, seasonality. Some schools have operated that with a gardening club. Some schools engage all the classes. They have their own bed, or they have a certain amount of time throughout the week. This is principally in primary school settings that I've observed this, but I think it is a practice that could be rolled out in any education setting. And again, it just offers an opportunity to do something out of the classroom, to engage with nature, to learn plenty of lessons, but it's also a sensory activity. It taps into well-being. It's a space for nurturing. It's a physical activity. And I think students really enjoy growing. Some schools have been able to harvest plants, and children have taken them home. Some schools have had little taster tables in their canteens that might be part of the salad bar, and it's all labelled up by their growing club that they grew it, or who grew which lettuce. And another top tip that I've received from one school that wanted to try and introduce some of the food that the school was growing into the menu was to use herbs, because the chef said that would be really easy to incorporate. Whereas when there's a fixed menu, when you've got perhaps outside caterers coming in, it's quite difficult to influence that menu. But herbs was a really good way in. Next slide, Rebecca.
Sorry, can I just mention as well, so with my daughter's growing area, it's really highly used. In fact, my daughter helps out every lunchtime and after school, but they actually sell the plants, so through the PTFA, and they make, you know, quite a nice little income from just selling, you know, plants for people to take home. So yeah, another little income generation.
Lovely, thank you. So, so this slide is about growing for nature. So projects that have a biodiversity, nature enhancement focus, and again, plenty of lessons to incorporate into these kind of measures and actions across the school site. Lessons in natural history. I'm still hearing rumours that a natural history GCSE is in the pipeline. Seems to be eternally in the pipeline, but
it's definitely, I think it's definitely happening in September.
It's still
so.
happening.
Yeah.
Brilliant. But also tapping into what Jem was saying, if you're accessing the local nature recovery network map, looking at where your school sits within that, what local habitats you're close to, what species you're close to. One school I visited sits in an area that has lots of bats, so they ran a bat project, installed some bat boxes, came in with some technology apps for listening to bat sonar. Again, lessons on seasonality. Also, it would be, you know, really great if some of these actions could become natural solutions to issues like boggy areas of field, areas that are prone to flooding, areas that are too hot for students to sit in the summer months, to introduce shade or some of that adaptation element. Also introduces responsibility, again, jobs for students, and just that idea of, like the Attenborough quote, knowing what's around us and starting to care for it, as many students already do. So here we've got illustrated hedgehog houses, bird boxes, there were some bat boxes. The picture in the lower right-hand corner is some very young trees that have been planted. That was part of a pack from the Woodland Trust. One school put them around the perimeter where they had a small border. There's a pond with a dipping platform, which is almost a victim of its own success, because there are great crested newts there, so the students aren't allowed to go on the platform at the moment to disturb them. So brilliant aspect of biodiversity, but they just have to view them from slightly further afield than perhaps was originally designed. And I have to say the willow tunnel there and the wildflower strip are stock images, because they are in action in schools that I've visited, but in the early stages. So just thought I would show it slightly more developed, what they will look like in the future. Image there. Thanks, Becca. So this is where finding space for these actions, this is where I really thought the ingenuity and the creativity of those supporting this action in schools came to light. I was amazed by the areas that people had found around their sites. So courtyards, areas between classrooms, outdoor corridors had been accessed and turned into beautiful gardens or well-being or mindful areas. There were some reclaimed spaces, so areas that had been a bit neglected, they were cleaned up, and some exciting discoveries made there in terms of ghost ponds that have been restored, and little bits of history as well. One school in the planters that you see there in the bottom left, they're actually on the green driveway to a school, so they're accessible members of the public, and the containers are there full of water, so that people, parents, carers, as they pass and drop their children off, they can interact with that space and take care of it as well. And that was done with the school in partnership with Edible Felixstowe. So that was a nice area that the school had that was open to the public, that they've chosen to utilise in that way. Field borders and margins, corners, entrances have got planters to make a really nice welcome to different areas of the school as well. And troublesome areas, which I'll look at in the next slide in a little bit more detail. I was able to visit Worlingham Primary School. This is the next slide, please. Sorry, Rebecca. Oh, yes, no, before I move on, sorry, I wanted to include this clip. This isn't a school. It'd be it'd be quite a fancy school to have its own railway station, wouldn't it? I think only Hogwarts has that. This is a picture of Summer Leighton railway station. When I was visiting the school there, I was at the station and I was amazed by the number of wildflowers they had growing in tiny cracks between the tarmac of the platform and the station building. It was really an illustration to me of what you can do with a tiny, tiny amount of space. I spoke to a volunteer. They did require some watering and a bit of work, but it was a really beautiful display and it certainly inspired me. And I think there's another picture. So there we go. If you have a old unused space, you never know what you could uncover. This little piece of local history was uncovered by Great Barton School when they reclaimed an area of their land, and they've turned it into a wonderful conservation area with that fantastic pond and the newts. So this is what I mean about troublesome areas and natural solutions. So Worlingham School were in the position that they were able to move up from their primary building to their middle school during that phase of change. And so they inherited larger school grounds, but with it came quite a large bill for mowing their green space and a really boggy corner. So they created a wild corner in their site and have reported that the maintenance cost for mowing the lawn has actually decreased, and it was carefully planned so that it could pretty much take care of itself. They have fenced it in, which was an expenditure to protect it from deer and to make sure that children could enter it when they were supervised, but it has taken care of a bit of a problem that they were having in that corner of the field. Lovely. I'll fly through the next few stages. So finding a workforce. So these actions do take time. They do take hands to help. So just a few examples of people that schools have called upon. So I mentioned that the Felixstowe plant is at the front of the school. That was done in partnership with Edible Felixstowe. PTFA, so another one of our schools, has a working bee party regularly that parents and the PTFA are invited to, and they regularly have volunteers that come and help with tidying, clearing some of the heavy duty things like putting up a polytunnel. So that was a brilliant way of leveraging that school community. Another school used a community payback service to maintain certain areas of the school. That did require the head teacher to come in on a Sunday, so there was a lot of commitment there, but they were really, really pleased with the results of that. And then I put Vertas there as well, because they were involved in the project just mentioned at Worlingham, where every child sponsored a new tree, and then Vertas also contributed a partner tree. So they doubled the amount of planting they were able to do, and Vertas came along and helped create the plan for the area and dig the holes for the trees and supported the children in planting it as well.
Yeah, just on that, I would just, there's lots of community growing groups sort of around the county. So yeah, having a look and just seeing who's around, because a lot of them are so enthusiastic, they'd be really willing to give up some time to just come in and maybe teach some skills or present to the kids. So it's worth, or the students, sorry, that it's worth finding a local community group as well.
Lovely. And then in terms of finding the resources to do it, so some of these have been mentioned already, but the Woodland Trust do tree and hedge pack giveaways for schools and communities. There's our local Suffolk tree wardens who donate trees. Perhaps you might want to join it and think about having a tree nursery on your site. So some of your pupils could be involved in becoming tree nurses and nurturing acorns through to saplings to give to another site. Grow your own potatoes. Sonia, I think you mentioned that one. That I found recently and looks really interesting. It comes with the growing bags and the seedlings, and then stacks of resources as well to use in the curriculum. Cultivating Change is another. RSH have a campaign for school gardening. There are grants out there as well. Rather helpfully, the National Education Nature Park have put together a page where they've collated all the funding and free resources currently available. So I've put a QR code link to that page. That's very, very helpful. And then finally, if you are planning some actions around biodiversity, if you want any support with that planning, or if you want to tell us about it, or if we can support in researching and finding out what funding is available, perhaps from more local organisations, then please do get in touch, because we'd love to hear your plans and we'd love to see how we can support you with that.
Thank you very much, Louisa. Hopefully you found that useful. I mean, it's really inspiring being able to go out and visit schools and seeing what they're up to. We're hoping that we can develop some kind of program for secondary as well, so that we can get out and see what secondary schools are up to. But hopefully there was something for everyone there.